A new poll shows 68% of voters say President Biden is too old for another term as president. Beyond that, only 36% of people approve of Biden's performance. Yikes, these are not good numbers. As you can see, Charlie Hurd is here. Charlie, great to see you.
Great to see you, Ash.
Biden just launched his re-election campaign. I was going to say, seems like he's hitting the ground crawling a little bit when you look at those polls.
Yeah, I think that's a good description of how he's doing right now. But I think the real problem here, obviously, these are dismal approval numbers, and there are real questions, not just among the people around him, but across the country, about his age and his ability to just sort of carry on a normal conversation. But I think the real devastating thing out of this poll that has people really freaking out is the fact that the poll also shows that Donald Trump, in a head-to-head matchup right now, Donald Trump would beat Joe Biden by 7 points. And if your only purpose in politics, according to the people that are around him, i.e. the Democrat Party and much of Washington, is that you are to keep the orange man out of Washington, then you have, and it appears, polling shows that you are failing at that. Things get really, really, they start getting real. And I think that there's some real conversations going on right now in the Democratic Party about, okay, what do we do here? If he can't do the one thing we need him to do, what do we do? And I think it's going to be an interesting couple of months.
And I don't see any change, and we'll have to wait and see. There's a long way to go. But the whole basement strategy, we could say, OK, it was COVID the last time around. He didn't want to go to the big rallies. But what's he going to do this time around? Because he's got to get out of that basement, right?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. The COVID thing is obviously won't be the excuse he can use. But then I think from their perspective, they also kind of look at the fact that as an incumbent in the White House, you have all the trappings of power. In a lot of ways, it makes the basement strategy easier because you can, hunker down in the basement of the White House and never leave. The problem is, as you point out, there's no reason for doing this. And by doing this, you look even more delusional and more detached from reality. But I wouldn't be surprised if they don't try to, in some way, sort of cling to COVID or whatever in order to try that strategy again, because they know one thing: when he goes out there and tries to interact with people in any sort of unexpected environment, it always turns badly for them. It turns from a crawl to a flop.
It's a liability, that's for sure. All right, let's get into this issue, Charlie. President Biden, question about the probe into Hunter. He says his son has done nothing wrong. Listen to this.
There is something personal that's affecting you. Your son, while there's no ties to you, could be charged by your Department of Justice. How will that impact your presidency?
First of all, my son's done nothing wrong. I trust him. I have faith in him. And it impacts my presidency by making me feel proud of him.
Well, I don't know, proud, but you know what else is a father going to say, Charlie? Yeah. But to that fact, I mean, how long can he continue to say nothing to see here, move along? Are people starting to say, wait a minute, something doesn't smell right? Well,
this is the advantage of being kind of delusional about everything, is that you can just sort of keep this going and he'll say absolutely anything. You know, setting aside what a ridiculous interview that was, it gives a new name to softball interview. She was boostering him the entire time. But that aside, it's kind of interesting. The fact that Joe Biden is so intent on focusing on the personal crimes of his son and defending his son amid the personal problems that his son has, it's almost a way of sort of distracting from the larger point. That's not the problem. The personal issues of Hunter Biden is not the problem. It's never been the problem. The problem with Hunter Biden is that he apparently was part of helping run a much larger scheme involving the president of the United States and at times the vice president of the United States in a massive, sprawling international corruption syndicate. And that's the problem. And so I do think it's kind of interesting to listen to the way Joe Biden says all that. He's desperately trying to defend his son against the personal stuff when that's not at all what people are concerned about. What people are concerned about is that the chief executive of the country has sold out to foreign governments in what appear to be strange bribery schemes. So,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of telling.
Yeah, it really is. And quickly, do you think the Bidens will be held accountable? I mean, so far they've managed to skate by, but it feels like, especially with the release of some bank account information that possibly could be coming up, maybe that time of getting away with it may be up.
Interestingly, I think that the worse he does polling-wise, especially against Donald Trump, the more likely even Democrats decide to turn on him, and he will end up at least being exposed.
Well, we shall see. Charlie Hurt, great stuff as
Great to see
always,
you.
Charlie. Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. Great to see you.